Yes, it's steamy.
Wait a minute. Don't I know you?
A judge has ruled that big Fani Willis is going to have to answer some questions. Now, I don't consider myself a Bible scholar, okay? Now, dear Rolls-Royce, who sits right over here in the captain's chair in the studio with me, he provides the verse of the day every single day. Rolls-Royce, good old-fashioned youth group kid, knows his Bible front ways and back ways. Rolls-Royce would probably be able to tell you about the Old Testament and how there's these hilarious things that happen in the Old Testament where the kings of old, the evil leaders of old, the people who are attacking righteous men and women, how they actually get undone by their own trappings, right? How they fall into traps of their own makings. They themselves get humbled. How it is them who reach way too far and then go into collapse. And it is a pretty amazing thing that you see throughout history. Something that you actually often see. It's like an absolute truth of the human experience. That's because we all have the same creator, and it's because there is true justice, actually, that can bend itself even in our lifetimes. We're all going to have justice at the end of our lives, but like in this mortal world, we may see those who are so duplicitous, so corrupt, actually see justice themselves. And that's kind of what the show's about. Like, we're here to actually hold into account those people on this mortal earth. And so we get great pleasure out of a story like this, because Fani Willis is deeply and egregiously corrupt. She's incredibly stupid, as many people in her position are. And she's just she's like low IQ, very low wattage, right? IQ maybe around 80. She's just dumb. And apparently she's banging one of the prosecutors on her staff. Or on his staff. Anyway, she is getting in bed with the prosecution, as it were. Going on fancy little vacations. Paying him a little bit extra to take her to the Caribbean. It's all coming out, and it's all really disgusting. Ladies and gentlemen, reading to you the headlines from this morning. Fani Willis to face hearing for hiring her lover as top prosecutor in Georgia election case. A Georgia judge orders Fulton County DA to respond to allegations over affair with colleague who was paid more than $600,000 in taxpayer funds to go after Donald Trump. The judge in Donald Trump's election case in Georgia has set a hearing for next month to address accusations Fani Willis hired her lover as a top prosecutor. Fulton County District Attorney and Superior Judge Scott McAfee said on February 15th, Fani Willis is going to have to answer some questions about Nathan Wade. Atlanta attorney Wade was paid $654,000 to help the sprawling probe into the president's effort to overturn the election bombshell firing. Willis hired Atlanta attorney Nathan Wade as an anti-corruption special prosecutor, even though he has no experience in doing that. What does he have experience on? Well, being on Big Fani. That's his experience. In a stunning court filing, one of the co-defendants in the fake electors scheme exposed the relationship, and now they are going to have to face the music. It's going to be pretty special as we look into the absolute and total stupidity of these people thinking that they can get away with this. I mean, your last name isn't Biden here. Here's what we know so far.
The judge has set a date for looking at that relationship of February 15th. So really, for the time being at least, things are turned upside down here. You have the district attorney who is prosecuting former President Trump and others for election interference here in Georgia. Now she is the subject of an investigation. That hearing will look at whether there was an improper relationship between the district attorney and one of her prosecutors, and also whether the two misused funds. Now, if that hearing is televised, it could prove to be disastrous for the DA.
I think the last thing she wants is for these witnesses to testify on the world stage about the salacious details of an alleged extramarital affair.
More, too, is being learned about the prosecutor, Nathan Wade. He is seen by many legal observers as a curious choice to prosecute a former president. He's a suburban attorney specializing in family law. He's earned more than $600,000 from his work so far, and at least one defense attorney has said he's used some of that money on lavish vacations with Willis. Wade is also in the midst of a divorce. Willis is being subpoenaed in that divorce, but she's fighting the subpoena. As for Willis, she still has not confirmed or denied any relationship with Wade. She's called him a great friend, and she said all criticism of the two so far is racially motivated.
Isn't that amazing? You don't like me because the person I'm having an affair with and paying under the table, who doesn't do this body of law and who has no pedigree and was a slip and fall scumbag ambulance chaser lawyer up to this point, you don't like us because we're black. That's why. That's what's going on here. Forget the fact that we went to the White House and colluded with Joe Biden in order to try and take down Trump. Check this out from Fox News. Fulton County prosecutor Fani Willis' romantic partner met with Biden White House twice before charging Trump, correction there. Nathaniel Wade billed Georgia County for meetings in May. So this guy was billing. Scroll down in the article. You got to see the two of these. Got to see the two of these people. Look at look at these expressions. You make this big. Look at these expressions. Oh, we've been caught. Ladies and gentlemen. Wade billed the county on May 23rd, 2022 for an event described as Travel to Athens Conference with White House counsel. Wade charged $2,000 for 8 hours at $250 an hour. By the way, he's being paid more than the other attorneys. Big Fani has a couple of questions that she should ask. All of this is being done on the taxpayer's dime, meeting with the Joe Biden White House. You can see that. You can see the schedule here. We'll always show you the evidence, right? Here you go. There it is. Fani Willis. We have uncovered a record of Fani Willis visiting the White House before charging Donald Trump. And by the way, Fani Willis, in an inverse OnlyFans situation, is being charged by her lover to do some work. Oh, it's getting good, baby. It's getting good. Check this out in this incredible report by Jesse Waters, who went through the background of this man, Big Fani's, the lover of Big Fani, I think we shall call him. Apparently, this guy has been charging Fani Willis for work after dark. Is that racist too? Watch.
Fani Willis's lover boy, Nathan Wade, might be the hardest working lawyer in America. Nathan allegedly billed taxpayers for 24 hours of work on the Trump Georgia case in a single day. That means Nathan was working all day and all night on Fani's case. What would Loverboy be working on past midnight? He wouldn't be billing Fani. No, he couldn't be. I'm sure he was just burning the midnight oil at the office. Loverboy's billed nearly $700,000. Is he making more than the lawyers who aren't sleeping with Fani? Is he making more because he's more qualified than they are? Or is the lover just working harder?
Okay. ALX, producer ALX, we're going to have to work better on our Big Fani puns. Jesse Waters' show, I never want to be behind. We never want to be behind. We want the show to be the future. Jesse Waters has some very good puns there. Very good indeed, ladies and gentlemen. So, Mr. Big Fani lover, who's prosecuting Donald Trump, turns out that he has a very small pedigree. In fact, it turns out that he will get into almost anything if the money's right. Let's go ahead and look at Nathan Wade's. Again, this is the chief prosecutor. This guy, This is the ringer, right? This is the guy who's been brought in to go after Donald Trump. Donald Trump! This is the case that they're betting all their hopes on, right? Jack Smith's totally getting bogged down in D.C. and in Florida. Jack Smith can't move. It all hangs on Georgia. This is it. If they can't get Trump on this case, there's no hope. Jack Smith caught in molasses, can't move. He's in the cement. So they got to go to Georgia. They got to go. And they have to trust one ace lawyer known as the Big Fani Lover. Here's the man's storied legal history. Watch.
God, wasn't it them that attacked this lawyer of impeccable credentials? Is it that some will never see a black man as qualified, no matter his achievements? What more can one achieve?
Well, the race card isn't going to get you out of this one, Fani. We found Loverboy's resume. Impeccable? Not a word I'd use to describe Nathan Wade's credentials. Some of his highest profile cases involve car accidents. Loverboy represented a lady who was rear-ended by a beer truck. He tried getting her $300,000 for emotional and physical damages, but the case was dismissed. Loverboy's a piranha in small claims court. He represented an electronics store who claimed the customer owed him $11,000 for some speakers. Wade won that one. And his biggest court victory of all time, Nathan Wade helped two people get their names changed.
Maybe Nathan Wade can change his name to Big Fani Lover. Nathan Wade is a slip and fall ambulance chaser lawyer. He's getting this as a fraudulent payout from his mistress, Big Fani. This is what's going on. And Big Fani is very low wattage, right? She couldn't my boy George couldn't come up with a scheme like that. Is what Frank Costanza says in Seinfeld. My boy George isn't smart enough to come up with a scheme like this. She needed some outside help. Fani Willis, as we have detailed, has met with the White House again and again and again. Let's put up this Breitbart article. Fani Willis secretly colluded with January 6th committee. Could blow up case. Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis secretly colluded with the one-sided Democrat-run January 6th committee to obtain tips that would help her prosecute Donald Trump and tricked the court, tried to keep it out of public view using procedural lies. Ladies and gentlemen, the revelation could upend the prosecution of Trump and 18 co-defendants because the evidence was concealed to keep it away from the discovery requirement that would allow the defense lawyers to see what was shared and the extent of the collaboration. It's nice to be right, I suppose. Dark times, but it's nice to be right about these things. We've been calling out the January 6th committee as frauds from day one, from the get. Now it turns out that this was all institutionally designed in order to shovel information off to Jack Smith and off to prosecutions for Donald Trump. You've known this. Of course you know this. We've always known this. But it is good, in fact, to get this information out there. It is nice to see these rulers be laid low and these evil people get what's coming to them. The Joe Biden White House has been actively working in order to prosecute their chief political rival. This is, of course, obstruction of justice. And what's being argued right now is that presidents are not immune to the actions they take as president. And so what will happen when Donald Trump wins in 2024? Well, you immediately charge Joe Biden with 10 million counts of human and child trafficking. So you send him to Guantanamo Bay for the rest of his life. And then you also charge, of course, everyone involved in this abomination, this judicial abomination, with obstruction of justice. How else could you explain Fani Willis's meeting at the White House?
But it's a lot worse than a sexual kickback scheme. Documents show Fani's lover boy met with the Biden White House while he was investigating Trump twice. Fani's lover boy files for divorce. The next day, Fani taps him to be Trump's special prosecutor. Then Fani's lover boy has an 8-hour conference with Joe Biden's White House counsel. Then a few months later, the lover boy has an 8-hour interview with the White House. And lover boy billed the taxpayer $2,000 for each meeting, which would mean local prosecutors prosecuting Donald Trump are officially working with the Biden White House.
That's illegal. That's illegal. He's also, I mean, embarrassingly enough, and ALX, we got to work on our puns there. Jesse Waters is killing us on the pun game. We got to write out these puns. There's too many good ones in this. Big Fanny lover is stiffing the taxpayers. Ladies and gentlemen. He's also getting into bed with the January 6th committee, as we have detailed, but it's nice to bring these things to light. It's good to, show exactly how corrosive this entire system is and how destructive it is to this nation. It's nice to, rip out from the darkness, like the cockroaches, and bring them into the light. They really don't like that. And man, it's beginning to really look like we were right about January 6th. That this was all done, federally organized, in order to attack Donald Trump. They had it set up. The January 6th committee, of course, was a selective committee that didn't get to the truth, that simply projected narratives and was professionally produced. It still blows my mind. Was professionally produced by the guy who killed all the Epstein news at ABC News. I know that seems crazy, but imagine there is a cabal of truly sinister, evil predators who are desperate to retain control of this country. The same man who killed the Amy Rohrbach story at ABC News, that had Clinton, that had the royal family, that protected Jeffrey Epstein, that same guy was hired by the January 6th committee to do the same thing to Donald Trump, meaning to make sure that there was a specific narrative that happened to Donald Trump that attacked him and protected some of the most evil people in our nation. It's incredible. What a fixer. What a fixer, this guy. Ladies and gentlemen, Fani Willis then got marched into that January 6th committee and handed her marching orders. Go.
And when Fani wasn't getting sexual kickbacks and colluding with Biden's White House, she had Adam Schiff on speed dial. Fani was working with Adam Schiff in the January 6th case to build the Georgia prosecution. You remember the January 6th committee that banned Republicans from joining and then destroyed all the evidence they collected? It's almost as if Biden's running the Trump prosecutions from the White House.
Interesting. Just a reminder. Democrats hired ex-ABC president who spiked story on Jeffrey Epstein's role in human trafficking to make January 6 primetime hearings more dramatic. Oh, okay. So you bring in the pederast protectors. Look at this guy. James Goldston is his name. James Goldston is his name. Scroll down through the article, please. This is the guy. I want to name and shame these people. This is the guy. So this was the goal. The goal was to bring in cretins, human scum like this guy, James Goldston, Epstein protector. We should check the flight logs. We should check Epstein flight logs. Was James Goldston ever invited to the island? I don't know. Good question. We don't have the flight logs because Democrats continue to protect the dead pederast. But nonetheless, this is the guy that produced the January 6th hearings for dramatic effect. This was all designed. This was all created. It was centrally organized. It was centrally planned. To do what? Get Trump. Why? Because Trump is such a threat to them. Marjorie Taylor Greene, somebody who we were chilling with in Iowa earlier this week as a Trump surrogate, saying now it's time to actually put Fani Willis, big Fani Willis, and Loverboy in jail. Go.
And our Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr, where I am asking for them to investigate for criminal investigations into Fani Willis and her boyfriend Nathan Wade. I can tell you right now, I'm a lifelong Georgian, and we are sick and tired and fed up with Fani Willis using her Fulton County position and Fulton County tax dollars not to prosecute real criminals, but to go after Joe Biden's top political opponent, which is President Trump and other co-defendants in their entire effort to claim that we shouldn't care about elections when absolutely elections are one of the most important things we have in this country. And so I'm recommending recommending criminal referral to Governor Kemp and Chris Carr against Fani Willis and her boyfriend. She's taking Fulton County taxpayer dollars and she's paying her boyfriend nearly $700,000 while he takes her on lavish vacations, not only in this country, but internationally as well. You talk about pay to play. And then he is invoicing her office, which is the Fulton County taxpayers, saying that he somehow worked 24 hours in one day. I'm sorry, that is corruption, and that is an absolute lie. Not only that, he was sent up and he met with the Biden White House as he is planning to prosecute President Trump. We know exactly what this is. I'm calling on Governor Kemp and our Attorney General Chris Carr, investigate and prosecute Fani Willis and end this witch hunt immediately. It's outrageous.
Well, there's one thing I have. We love Marjorie, but there's one contention I have with what she just said there. She's like, how could he have billed her for 24 hours? Was he really working overnight? Well, MTG. He could be billing her for something he was doing overnight. I mean, he literally could be charging her. Do you understand what's actually happening here? The guy's actually charging Big Fani for boyfriend services. That's how he can bill 24 straight hours in a row. Just laying it out there. How is Donald Trump reacting to all of this? Well, as you'd expect.
We had a very big event yesterday, as you saw, in Georgia, where the district attorney is totally compromised. The case has to be dropped. In fact, they say she's in far more criminal liability than any of the people she's looking at. So I think that when you look at what happened, where they pay a lawyer with absolutely no experience $700,000 who happens to be her lover or her boyfriend, and then they go on trips and vacations together, very expensive vacations together. And the reason they paid him so much because he was after me.
So this is something this is a trap you don't ever want to be caught in, okay? Take it from me, who follows this kind of stuff, the TikTok of these kind of scandals very closely, and I've done it for years. You don't want to be trapped in the Donald Trump knows that you're cheating on your spouse and you are like sexually corrupt. You don't want to be trapped there. Donald Trump's been a celebrity for 50 years. The last 50 years, he knows how to play these personal failings scandals better than anyone. No one will beat Trump at this game. Do you remember, here's a good example. Do you remember Peter Strzok at the FBI and his lover, Lisa Page? His lover. You remember those tweets? Oh, they were things of legend. Do you remember those news conferences where Donald Trump realized that the two FBI agents, the two like gremlin-like FBI agents that were out to get him, were actually sleeping with each other and were cheating on their spouses together? Oh, you don't want this trap. This is a bad one. Donald Trump knows how to play this. And, well, Big Fani was running to the church to try and get a little bit of absolution in this moment. So as all of these corresponding scandals begin to rock her prosecution of Donald Trump, Fani Willis does what every Democrat activist does, which is grotesque, by the way, which is to use the pedestal and the podium of a church for personal defense. Bill Clinton did this. I think this has been normalized throughout the Democrat Party for a very long time, but they go into the black church and they go to the boom clap hallelujah chorus and they try and ask for absolution through people like shouting hallelujah at them, which is not the intention of the church. Okay? Let me say this as just a simple Christian, no theologian here, but that is not the intention of the church. To go air your dirty political laundry and to try and make campaign statements about your crimes. That is satanic. But that is what we saw here, mixed with and sprinkled with the very delightful argument that any criticism of Fani Willis is a criticism of all black women. So that's going to be what they go with here, which is actually a tell. It means they've lost and means they're scared as hell about what's about to happen to them. The tell is that Fani Willis is going back to the final rung. So when you lose every argument, you get down to the final rung. The final rung is, you're doing this to me because I'm black. It's the final, like, I have nothing left argument. And you run into the church to scream that argument as loudly as you possibly can. Now on, like, super low wattage people, that argument works. But on the rest of us, TikTok, Big Fani. Watch.
All the glory I receive, it's his grace, not a perfect me. We are at a time in history, people. Hear me on this. We are at a time in history when you can no longer sit back and just let other folks do it. You cannot expect black women to be perfect and save the world. The Lord is completing us. We are not perfect. We need your prayers. We need to be allowed to stumble. We need grace. With that kind of support, we will move mountains and do Jesus' will, stumbling all the way. So his flawed, hard-headed, and imperfect child has a message for each of you today. Please find a way to do your extraordinary, God-given assignment and make this community and the world a better place for all of his people.
Okay, like Royce and I are cringing in the studio watching that with you. This is like blasphemy, okay? It's blasphemy. That's what it is. She's saying that Jesus wants me to prosecute Donald Trump. That's what she's saying there. And that while I divorce my husband, which you go read the Gospels, lady, like that's frowned upon, like pretty strongly. And while I lie, and while I collude with this child murdering White House, the March for Life today, by the way, it's not happening live during our show, but big shout out to the March for Life. While I collude with these like true Satanists, like these people, there's no other way to describe them, right? If you've looked at the absolute Sodom and Gomorrah of Joe Biden's White House, everything from Dylan Mulvaney to the nudity and sexual debauchery that's had at the White House is straight up like vision into Sodom, right? Don't look at it too hard. You'll turn into a pillar of salt. That should be a new segment, the pillar of salt on the show. Come on, Royce. We turn someone into the pillar of salt. There's something that you have to be really careful about in life. And I say this again as a simple Christian, is to not like impart like Christ and the purity and the beauty of the gospel message into like your petty little political fights of the day. All right? You're getting on dangerous thin ice there. Christ was about large, big ideas for humanity. Render unto Caesar what is Caesar. We're allowed to have our own little petty political battles, but I'm not going to sit here and like project the gospel onto like my particular political preference. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's larger than that. It's bigger than that, than like the little political battles of the day. So you got to be very careful to be like, I'm prosecuting Donald Trump because Jesus wants me to. And I'm an imperfect black woman. So you can't expect me to be perfect while I'm banging the lawyer who I'm paying to prosecute Trump and he's charging me for 24 hours of work. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Black woman. Like, you know how sick that is? You know how blasphemous that is? Like, okay, like pretty scary stuff there for you. Like, be worried about that. Be worried. Simple Christians, we can be wrong at times. We can, we should correct our mistakes. But to say that like Christ is backing me when I'm lying and colluding and going after people for doing no wrong and then cheating on my husband, divorcing my husband, and then like having affairs with people that I'm paying out of the taxpayer coffer, and Jesus wants me to do it all because I'm an imperfect black lady? Like, okay, you gotta get right with God. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, as an imperfect person, you gotta get right with God. The other thing that is very important that producer ALX has brought up on this issue is that Fani Willis depended on a witch, like an actual satanic witch, in order to get this prosecution. of Donald Trump. That seems a little crazy, Betty. What do you mean a witch? What are you talking about? Like, I mean, the lady's a witch. Like, she professes to be a, like, Wiccan, Satan-worshipping witch. This is the lady who was the foreperson for Fani Willis. Fani Willis worked with this lady in order to get the prosecution of Donald Trump. Not the best look when you have to go to the dark demonic arts in order to get your prosecution over the line. But we have the tape. Let's go.
Did you personally want to hear from the former president?
I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear? And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment.
When somebody has like the black eyes, kind of like a shark, like a great white shark, when it bites into a piece of flesh and the eyes like kind of roll back in its head. And when somebody is posting publicly, like about how they're a witch, grand jury foreperson said it would have been awesome to subpoena Trump is a witch who shares spell and magic on her Pinterest page. Can we go up to the what she shared on her page, sort of the magic? There you go, right there. See that pentagram there? That's the symbol of the Church of Satan. This is what Fani Willis, boom, clap in the church, saying Jesus is so proud of her, like wants her to, this is the person who she's colluding with in order to get her job done. Along with, of course, cheating on her husband, divorcing her husband, and having affairs. I'm not here trying to throw rocks, right? I'm saying that you're out in public doing this kind of stuff, and it's blasphemous. That's the pentagram. This is the sign of Satan. This is the satanic church. Like, this is their symbol. It's been the sign of Satan for a very long time. Here we go. Down here, casting a circle. This is on her public page, by the way. This is Fani Willis's best friend. There it is again. The satanic pentagram. There you go. How to cast a circle. Don't want to put this up too long on my show because I don't want to promote this kind of garbage, but it's worth seeing. Sunlight is a good disinfectant. Wicca, witchcraft, and paganism. She's also posting how to be a pagan. Oh, okay. What does the word pagan come from? Well, pagan is somebody who hasn't been converted to Christianity, hasn't seen the light, somebody who still lives in eternal darkness. Okay. So all of this stuff exists on Fani Willis's best friend's page. This is who Fani Willis decided to would be the number one person to help her prosecute Trump. And it gets far worse. Man, if you want to see like what like a really creepy, untethered person acts and looks like, yo, I got the clip for you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our nuclear cringe of the day.
Would you say when it comes to, there are indictments recommended, of course. Is it more than 12 people? Is it more than 20 people?
I think if you look at the page numbers of the report, there's about 6 pages in the middle that got cut out. Allow for spacing. It's not a short list.
Not a short list. More, I mean, when it comes to...
What if I was doing the show? And whilst doing the show, I was going like this. Like, would you say, hey, something's wrong with you? Maybe you need to get baptized. Maybe you need to go see a priest. Maybe something's up with you. Perhaps there's something wrong with you. Or would you say you're on the, like, and then let's say my entire social media feed was filled with pagan witchcraft and Satan worship. Would you say you're on the side of Jesus there? Like, is that what you would say? It's so repugnant. It's so blasphemous. And I say this, of course, as a deeply on a Christian level. it's just so sick when I see this kind of stuff. It's so disgusting. It's so degrading. And it really is, I think, what Christ came to fight on this earth. And the church in Christ's time was doing the exact same thing. Was corrupt and was using its power for personal gain and were filled with filthy, empty, like whitewashed tombs. A brood of vipers was the church leaders, so-called. And Christ was straight up flipping tables when he saw it, and when he saw it for real. When Christ went and saw the money changing in the churches, then he went and he flipped those tables and he got a whip. Read the gospel. He got a whip and he whipped people. Huh? Is that the Jesus that you heard about in the storybooks? Well, it's the Jesus of the gospel. Got a whip and started beating people. Okay, simple Christian, I just read my Bible. So you don't want to be on the wrong side of that, is all I'm saying. I'm trying to be I'm Fani Willis's best friend, okay? Not like Nathan Wade, not that kind of friend. But I'm like trying to give you a little bit of advice. You don't want to be on that side. You want to have more fear of God than you have of Satan, as Jim Caviezel told us on the program a couple of months ago. The man who played Jesus. Have more fear of God. Like, understand that there are bigger like this is about something bigger, and you got to be very careful to try and read like Jesus into your moral failings and into like your corruption on this earth. Because the people who did that didn't end up great for them in Christ's time. And it won't end up great for them in this time. And we're starting to see already the retribution. This is what it looked like when Donald Trump, after Fani Willis got his mugshot, right? His epic mugshot that hangs in our studio, actually. Got this massive, this thing is big, by the way. This is like a, we printed it out on like a 3.5, like a 3-4 foot. This is like a 3 or 4 foot, like giant Donald Trump mugshot in our studio right there. After that mugshot, Donald Trump drove away from the Fulton County Jail. And he drove through these impoverished little communities that Fani Willis is stealing from, by the way, in order to prosecute Trump and in order to pay her lover. Fani Willis is stealing, robbing from these poor and impoverished people. And this is how they treated Donald Trump as he drove through their small and broken and crumbling neighborhoods that have been utterly neglected by the Democrat Party. 50, 60, 70 years of Democrat rule. This is what it sounded like. I want you to hear it as Donald Trump drove through.
Y'all see it, man. Which one are you in, though? Donald Trump. I'm talking about they got everybody.
You hear that?
Look at that. Oh.
Free Trump. Fani, you done effed up, they say. Fani, you done effed up. Free my N-word Trump. I'm quoting the video. That's what the people inside of Fani Willis's hometown are saying as they gather in the streets, come out of their homes and gather in the streets to cheer on Donald Trump. The day of his arrest. The day of his arrest. So are we like watching something that's biblical in real time? I would argue yes. I would argue yes. And vengeance is the Lord's, he says. Like, sit back and watch my justice. Just have faith. That's all that we are called to do, ladies and gentlemen. It's really, really interesting times that we are living in. And it is wonderful to see in our time justice served. How special is that? How incredible.